Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stelezzi here for another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted game. Breaking Me is playing once again as China, this time against Perez as the Russians. The map appears to be the Horn of Africa. This is a map I heard a lot about during the House of the Train Post tournaments last year. People don't like this map a lot because of the fish and whale placement on it if you ever want to go water. But there was some other people that liked the map, said it was pretty good. So, yeah, let's see if this mixed bag of map does benefit the players or not. We'll see. Let's give it a go. Alright, so Russians down here. The Russians, as you know, are the civ that gave me my namesake, Unstoppable Stelezzi. Just spam a lot of infantry and win the game, you know. Not strong infantry, it's a bit cheaper but a bit weaker, but that's generally the idea. Brute force wins you the matches, the Russians. That's what you definitely want to do there, 100%. Whereas on the other side, we have China. China kind of similar to that, but the way China works is obviously a lot different. Instead of spamming one thing at a time, you're generally spamming two things at the same time because of the banner army setup, right? Also, I would say some of the stuff in the Chinese arsenal is a bit stronger. Flamethrowers, meteor hammers, iron flails, hand mortars even, you know? China has a bit more stats on the field, I would say, you know? But I do think from like a difficulty standpoint, it's a little bit easier to understand the Russians coming out of the gate because the Chinese build order is a bit complicated, right? Because you obviously have to get a trading post down like this, you have to chop for enough wood to get a village like that, and then you have to decide how you're going to do your first shipment, right? But in general, what the best one is to do is what this man is doing right here, the T-Export. T-Export is a great starting card for you because not only does it give you a consulate rickshaw, saving you about 200 wood, you get an export trickle, which can take on different directions, really, for your starting build. What people commonly do, or at least what I commonly do, from what I learned in Definitive Edition, is go for the Russians, get an early blockhouse on the field with that export. That's good for multiple reasons. The blockhouse is going to give you some population, so save you a bit of time on housing. It's going to provide a bit of defense on the map, so it can protect a hunt, protect a mine, maybe even protect both. And the blockhouse can train banner armies too. So, I mean, you don't even need a war academy for a bit if you can use that one blockhouse to train all your stuff out of it. So, I mean, we'll see. Now, what we saw last game, which Breaking Me is doing here, is actually going with the French. He has sort of figured out this way to get resource crates to help speed up his age up time, as well as to supplement his unit training in age 2 and 3. Last time that was done a lot for hand mortars. I wonder what it's going to be used for here this time. Another good thing with going with the French, that basically improves your villagers' gather rate while that French allies is active. I think the improvement is what, like 5% better gather or something like that. It's pretty good, you know. It's pretty good all around. So it's a bit of a different take to the China setup than I'm used to with the Russians, which is totally fine, you know. You are missing out on the faster trained vills, but I guess with the extra gather rate it is somewhat good as well. Now, what he's doing here is getting a porcelain tower. I guess the reason for doing this in age 1 to 2 is to get extra resources instead of getting those free banner armies. If I predict from what I've seen before with this player, what he's going to do is he's going to go for a fast fortress to age 3 and try to do some sort of thing around hand mortars. So that's why he's getting all these extra resources now from the porcelain tower. He doesn't necessarily care about units right now. That's why he basically seems to be bypassing the summer palace here, because he doesn't need those extra banner armies for what he's doing for his build, which I find pretty interesting, you know. Now, something that's a bit different this time around is the aspect of water. So we will actually get some fishing boats here to produce fish along here. How about the Russian sound? Russians getting the quartermaster, which makes a lot of sense. Does he have a blockhouse yet anywhere? Does not look like he does yet. Right, just has some villagers up here on the wood line over here. He puts the blockhouse right about here, so protecting this ostrich hunt on this side. And somewhat these mines too, but it is a bit of a long walk if you do run into trouble. Which I guarantee you he's going to, because I could almost tell you with certainty, seeing the last game, that Breaking Me will actually ship in the step riders to do some raiding here, so we do need to be ready for that possibility. Blockhouse going down here. Doing a second blockhouse, well, I think honestly that's a good idea. If he does do hand mortars in H3 as part of his fast fortress, you do need that extra blockhouse to guarantee that you will be able to produce something, you know. If you lose that production, that's not good. It's really not good at all. Looks like he's getting steel trapped as well. He will go with recruits. These are basically your musketeer, but they're slightly cheaper, but also slightly weaker. So, a little bit easier to spam, but they won't hit as hard as other ones like the British, the French, and so forth. Yeah, in general, as I said at the start of the match, Russia's all about brute forcing it, you know, getting out huge stacks of infantry and just overwhelming your opponents who might not have that big established army yet to defend against that spam, you know. Yeah, that's basically how it is with the Russians. What does the deck look like? So the deck, you got your Cossack shipments, you do have Unstoppable Streltsy here. It has a bit of counter water, because this is the Horn of Africa, does have the 2 Caravel shipment here to basically take down whatever China's doing, which I think is pretty smart. I don't know if he's going to go for that counter water right away or what. Right now he just seems to be using his catamaran to get this fish over here. 10 recruits. What else? What's going on China's side? China is actually going for a bit of military in Age 2 this time, so he does not go for the fast fortress. Is getting the standard armies, so step riders with Chukunu. The step riders handle the skirmishers, whereas the Chukunu deal with the musketeers. I think in general this is probably the best thing that China could do for early games, since the Chukunu mass will definitely help with the recruit problem. Yeah, also has his flamethrower here too. Did get the flamethrower plus Castle Rickshaw card. This is a card that I used to use a lot, but I don't do it that much anymore because I'd rather use the White Banner Army card instead that gives you Chukunu with the flamethrower. I just think it hits a bit better offensive-wise, but this totally works good too. It does ensure that he does have a way to make more flamethrowers should he need them, perhaps. Also, you got your 9 step riders here, 7 from the shipment as well as the ones he got out of the Banner Army, which is pretty good. We'll add in a group of Old Han armies as well, so a mixture of Quang pikemen with Chukunus. Let me see here what he's trying to do. I think he's going to go for a... Well, I think he's at least considering doing some sort of a push here. Setting up a village towards the woods over there, probably to protect this hunt area in case he gets raided by Cossacks. You know, that's one of the things you gotta look out for with the Russians, is they can always send in one of those Cossack shipments to really mess up your villagers if you're not careful. Speaking of which, Russia is going to Age 3 right now with the Exiled Prince, sacrificing a age up reward for a faster age up. Still adding in recruits. Do we see 2 Falconet shipment coming next? I think we probably do. Might go in for veteran recruits and some Falcons and try to push on to China. That's at least what I would try to do. He does get the veteran recruits, but it actually gets a frigate in the water. Very interesting. So he is starting to do some of that counter water right now. Probably believes if I can knock out some of those fishing boats, I might have a better chance at combating China in the long haul, you know. All that extra food and coin you're getting on water as China right now is meaning more banner armies and more stuff to overpower the Russians, you know? I believe if you give Chinese a lot of resources, they can beat out the Russians with those resources, you know? Stuff like the Iron Flail, the Flamethrower, Meteor Hammer, they're going to do pretty well against the Russian stuff. Especially after this particular card gets sent down here. The old Dynasty Reforms. This one is a very insane card. It increases the cost of your early game unit battalions a little bit, but it ends up making them 50% stronger. That is a really big one there. Also, of course, you do have Repelling Volley, which does allow your Chukunu and Arquebusiers to get effects similar to that of counter-infantry rifling on the Russian side. More multipliers against muskies, you know? It's really good. 2 Falcons is out now with this little stack of recruits here. Does he have enough, though? Does he have enough? Now, interesting thing, flamethrowers are not artillery. They're actually infantry. So it is totally possible to use these Falcons to, like, snipe this flamethrower immediately and get rid of the risk. It's quite useful, actually. Now, one thing that's going on here, which is a bit concerning, is his castle is under siege right now from these Falkies. Is trying to get out some Mongolian armies. These are a mixture of Steppe Riders with Kejiks, which is your early game Dragoon unit. Setting up a castle in the back now, right behind the TC. Because he knows now, alright, I'm going to be sieged and I need to do something to defend this base at all costs. Town center is, again, damaged a bit there. Does get the Arquebusiers from the Confucian Academy age up. That will definitely be a big help here for dealing with those recruits. Because the thing is, he doesn't have any hand mowers yet, so he really needs a nice opening to get these Steppe Riders in there to get the Falcons. Which he might have now because of the low... Uh-oh, not good. Unfortunately, your wonder is in the way there, so your Steppe Riders can't necessarily path directly to the Falcons as effectively as you might want to. He's using China's own buildings against him, I think, to the point that the cavalry can't encircle the way they need to here. Oh, no, that's not good. Look at all these infantry is losing to these Falcons. These Falcons should be down by now. If you can't get these Falcons down, you're going to have some big issues. Oh, he gets the hand mortars, so he'll at least be able to deal with that issue. Now, what he deals with the recruits, we'll have to see. Does have some Arquebusiers still, so I think you probably can clean them up. Seems like you can. Just make sure you kite a bit there. Oh, he gets the banner army with the Arquebusiers and the Iron Flails, which is really good against infantry in general. So, I mean, looking pretty good here. You know, it looks like he was able to dodge a recruit bullet, I guess, or whatever type of bullet that this Bear Explorer has. I'm assuming it's some sort of wood or something, or a big rock maybe. Cossacks trying to get an attack onto the Arquebusiers. But here's the thing, though. If you can drag them out towards the coast, there are some water junks here to fire upon the cavalry. This will be a really good defense. He's going into bayonet mode with the recruits. I mean, he's not retreating. He's going all in here, trying to do maximum damage to this army. He thinks, oh, there's a lot of mounted stuff here. I could probably wipe out a whole lot of this right now and prepare for the next wave. Yeah. And now he does have Unstoppable Steletsy here. Yeah, a big stack of Unstoppable Steletsys. These are very cheap, but very weak skirmishers, you know. The Unstoppable Steletsy part comes in with the fact that you can make so many of them in such a quick amount of time, depending on how much resources you got, that they're basically as unstoppable as an Unstoppable Steletsy is, yeah. Seems like China has managed to survive this for now. This water-based economy is keeping them alive up here, right? And what about that frigate? Where's that frigate right now? Looks like the frigate did die to those war junks, I believe. Yeah. Looks like it did. So, I mean, China will be able to expand their fishing economy even further, and this will probably secure them a win here, honestly. You know, Russia at the moment Well, they do have a dock here, but they're way behind in the fishing economy race, I think. They barely... They haven't even started yet. I don't even see any fishing boats down here, to be honest. So, I mean, China's like 20 steps ahead on that front. Really good stuff there. Unfortunately, it's getting caught off guard by the Arquebusiers, who are getting some free shots on the units. Might have to retreat back to the base, you know, but watch out for these Oprishniks. They did raise a Chinese building right here. These things are very dangerous. These are arguably the most dangerous tool in the Russians' belt. Probably their most obnoxious, painful, cancerous, unique unit in their whole roster. See, what these do is, they're not only your everyday hand cav, they're actually siege troopers as well, which means they have high siege of 64. Like, this castle is gone. Everything he was hoping to do for naval defense here, this thing is gone now. Look at that, 64 siege. Towers like this can't survive against them. Not to mention, they do get melee multipliers against artillery, siege troopers, and villagers. So any villagers that are near these Oprishniks, they're good as gone, you know. Speaking of which, what's going on over here? We have Falks and veteran unstoppable Strelitzes going for some sort of a push. I guess what this Russia thinks is, if I spam out a bunch of Falkies, I might be able to overpower the Chinese infantry. And using a big stack of Strelitzes to deal with the Kejiks. Now, question is, what do you do with the hand cavalry? Well, he does have some cav archers here to try to deal with that from range. More cav archers being added in. Doing mostly the Imperial Bear armies here of Arquebusiers and Iron Flails. Needs to get those hand mortars out pronto to deal with the Falcons, otherwise you'll have no reliable answer to that. At this point, it looks like Russia economically is mostly dependent on this rush. You know, they need to make it happen. You know, they don't have a lot of surplus. Whereas China, you know, China's got a pretty vibrant food and coin economy right now from the fishing. Another thing they're doing, which is pretty interesting, is they're starting to fall back on their Infinite 8 Kizhik shipments. So even if they don't have resources for the Kiziks and wood, they are going to be able to ship in even more light cav to deal with the Russian artillery, hopefully, you know. I think it's kind of obvious for Russia at this point to not do anything like Cossacks, but those Kiziks might come in handy with dealing with these Oprishniks. Should they try to go into the wrong place and try to dislodge some of these villages and so forth. Now, question is, what should you do with these Oprishniks at this point? I would say probably a very squishy place in the Chinese defense would probably be over here, where these villages are. You could take down like 40 or so, actually even more pop. You know, you do get the ability to upgrade your population from those villages. You would be able to deny them some population space by getting these two villages out here. And look at all the villagers over here getting wood, getting food, getting coin. I mean, I honestly, breaking me would be pretty salty to lose all the villas, especially the ones on the salt mine over here. Very salty indeed about that. China right now is keeping everything in a big, giant swarm. They really don't want to lose anything either. You know, they're running a bit low on res as well. They are switching their consulate, assumably to the British, right, for more HP. Getting outlaws, getting the desert warriors, getting these tanky African musketeer units that don't even use muskets. They throw spears instead. Very strong. It does look like that Russian frigate is starting to come over here again and starting to deal with the fishing boats. So it's getting a bit closer than... Oh, no, yep, the Kiziks connect pretty well with the Oprishniks, taking out 2 of them. So that is something that Russia has to worry about, basically. I mean, they're not going to get any freebie snipes on buildings or villas. The Kiziks will be there as a secondary force to intercept them. Oh, goes for the Nuka shipment. The Nuka shipment, very nice. These are native pikemen, so they're really good against iron flails, good against a whole host of things, even the Kijiks. Now, what's interesting here is China actually got some Black Riders. Now, the Black Riders are actually surprisingly a good tank against these Nukas because they actually have 40% hand armor, which means they can deal with pike-type units a bit better than other Dragoons would, you know? Even though it looks like they still fell anyways due to the stack of range stuff on the Russian side. Prishnik's still trying to stay alive over here and trying to eke out some damage. Trying to do anything they can to keep China from just going full into their base. Was an interesting attempt by Russia to do culverins to deal with those hand mortars, as you saw there, but just not enough, you know. It's one of those secrets you learn from playing scenarios like Arena, you know. You need a pretty big stack of culverins to deal with massed hand mortars, just saying, you know. Those hand mortars, they're very low population. I mean, they only have a pop space of, what, like 1? As common as infantry? Yeah, they can go everywhere. You can get like a huge stack of these hand mortars on all sides, taking out whole bases if they want to, and it's just really, really something challenging to deal with. And with the Europeans, like the Russians, I mean, you have to put down like 400 coin to get a culverin, you know? It's not cheap. In that sense, China wins out in pure numbers there, really. If you're Russia right now, you don't have a fishing economy still, so you have no food. Like, you're just barely able to eke out these unstoppable Steletsy blocks here from your blockhouse, yeah. It's looking like a GG over here. What do you think? Looking like a GG? I think so. Definitely looking like, yep, GG, well played on that one. That was a good match, you know. China was in a pretty dangerous spot there at the start, you know. But I think they were able to make the proper counteroffensive and win that one. In terms of economy, definitely the fishing economy I think really helped China here. And Russia not having one definitely hurted them big time. In terms of military performance, technically Russia got a few more kills out just because they were doing large numbers of artillery. Probably wouldn't have gotten that many kills if they were just doing the normal brute force infantry thing that I talked about, you know. Russia at this point was trying to bring in cavalry, bring in artillery to try to better their odds here, and it just didn't work. Yeah, pretty much, so, yeah. Good match, though, you know. I believe there's one more cast a game from this player for me to do, so definitely enjoy that one as well. Signing off now from this one. Good game, everyone, and great job.